Arsenal have been one of the best sides in Europe over the last few years, and many of you might have clicked on this video thinking, why on earth do they need a rebuild? Well, it's been 20 years since their last Premier League win, and even despite all of their success in domestic cups, there hasn't been any success on a European front for a long while. In fact, there hasn't even ever been a Champions League win. So today, I'm going to step into Mikel Arteta's place, become Arsenal manager, and try and change that. That's right, today's rebuild takes us to Arsenal, where I've got 5 years as manager to try and change their fortunes. We're aiming to win a Prem, but also to win the Champions League. But of course, Arsenal are no strangers to success. They've got plenty of trophies in their cabinet. They've had plenty of eras of dominance as well. It wasn't too long ago they were the invincibles side. So that's the kind of domination we're going to hope to build with this Arsenal side, and we've already got plenty of great players in our team to help us. Declan Rice is of course one of our star men and a brilliant midfield talent, whilst we've got Martin Odegaard pulling the strings behind the attack, and the star boy that is Bukayo Saka too. And Arsenal's team is pretty young and should be set up for some success down the line. I mean, Saka's a great young player, but there's plenty others there too. Easy to forget how young Saliba is with just how good he's been over the last few years. Whilst Euro standout Ricardo Calafiori looks to be a great new signing for the Gunners, and the Hale End Academy is always producing some young superstars, with the current one being Ethan Nwaneri. Now, I've named a few players there, but I've missed out the likes of Martinelli, Jesus, Havertz, Zinchenko. There's so many great talents in this Arsenal squad. Despite that brilliant squad though, the game only has us predicted 4th place. 8-1 title favourites isn't bad, but when Newcastle, Liverpool and City are above us, it shows we still might need to improve our squad a little bit to take it to the next level. So that's my job now. We head into the first transfer window with a limited transfer budget in season 1. We'll see what kind of business we can do through sales and incomings, then hopefully going forward in future seasons we can really start making this team our own. And whilst we didn't go crazy in the first transfer window, we have done a fair bit of business, shifting a few key players on and bringing in one player that I think can bolster our midfield. The first sale is one I wanted to make, but I was surprised at where he ended up. Eddie Nketiah has gone to play for Liverpool. Now, I offered him out to clubs. We had a few come in for him. 34 million was the eventual fee. That was the best offer. As good as he is, I was surprised Liverpool wanted him, but I think it makes sense for us at least. We get some cash in for a player that wasn't going to play too much. He can progress his football hopefully at Liverpool. Meanwhile, we make some nice cash. I've also sold on the youngster Charlie Patino, who wanted to go to Inter Milan when they came in. That wasn't going to stand in his way. We got a good fee of £8.5 million for him, which isn't bad for a player who hasn't really played for Arsenal. Yes, he has potential, but I don't think he was ever going to be a mainstay player for us, so it made sense for us to sell him on now and hopefully bring someone else in down the line. And the final sale was also to Liverpool. Surprisingly, they were interested in quite a few of our players. He's now valued at 80 million, but we did not get that for Thomas Partey. We actually sold the 30-year-old for 35.5 million, which I think is a decent fee for him. Yes, he's a good midfielder, but I think we were okay to lose him and bring someone else in, a younger profile in that midfield. And the player we ended up landing on because of our scout's recommendation was Tien Koopmeiners of Atalanta. He's a 25-year-old Netherlands international who's good with the ball at his feet, can pass well, can distribute, but is also good when it comes to the tackle and working hard. He's versatile, can play all 3 midfield roles to a T. He's a brilliant signing, and he hasn't cost the bomb either. 37 million rising to 40. It's a lot of money, but for a player of his quality, I actually think it's a pretty good signing. So now he's in our team, let's go and check out our best 11. Now, whilst I haven't tried to replicate Arteta's tactic perfectly, I have made a team in a similar shape. So we are playing a 4-3-3. David Raya is our best goalkeeper. Of course, the Spaniard recently signed from Brentford. Ben White is at right back, and then we've got Saliba alongside Gabriel, the Brazilian centre back, and Kieran Tierney, who is supposedly still our best left back, despite the fact I have tried to sell him a few times. Koopmeiners comes in to our best 11 alongside Odegaard and Rice, while Saka plays right. Martinelli is our best on the left supposedly, and Jesus is up top. But there are plenty of great players on that bench too. Trossard, Havertz, Vieira will all be trying to push into that team, but let's see if those changes have made any difference to our season preview. And with the squad that we finished with now, we've gone up to 6-1 odds and have overtaken Newcastle as 3rd title favourites. Liverpool and Man City are still ahead of us, but it's a good sign that we have improved the squad a little bit, even with those key sales. So now we're going to simulate season 1, see how we can do, and then we can try and build on from there. But fingers crossed we get off to a good start. Okay, and season 1 is a very strange season. It's both positive, also negative, some disappointment, some joy, but let's start off with the good stuff, and that was the Carabao Cup, where we made it to a semi-final, faced off against Burnley, where Havertz and Saka helped us beat them 6-4, and that set up a League Cup final already in our first season, where we were facing off against Leeds, going in as the favourites, but it must be said, isn't necessarily the trophy we're aiming for in this rebuild, but we'd certainly take it if we could win it. But Leeds did give us a really good game. It was a tense match, but thankfully Saka's ball came in, Martinelli headed home, and that was the only goal of the game, and we had secured our first trophy of this rebuild. Now, I'm not going to take too much credit for it, but at least we can tick a Carabao Cup off our to-do list. Our Champions League run, though, was less impressive. We made it to the first knockout round against Atletico Madrid, but a late goal from Marcos Llorente from close range meant we were knocked out, and considering that was the first knockout stage, that was a big disappointment. But in the league, we were doing pretty well, thankfully. We had actually got into a title race as expected, not with City, not with Liverpool, but with Ange Postecoglou's Spurs, and with only a few games left of the season, if we were to win them all, we would win the title. But we were a bit worried when we saw we had to play Aston Villa, a team that have ended Arsenal's title race in real life on previous occasions, and here at their stadium they went 1-0 up. And not too long afterwards, a spill from Raya gave the ball to Moreno, who scored, and unfortunately that meant we had lost the game, and it hurt us massively in the title race. Because we finished second on 90 points, 1 point away from the eventual winners Tottenham. Now, you know, Tottenham never win things in Football Manager. This is with a transfer update, so maybe their new signings have helped them, but it's just so annoying that we've finally beat Man City, beat Liverpool in the league, but just above us, it's Spurs, which is probably even more heartbreaking for any Arsenal fan. They've gone and won the league, which we don't want to see, and we need to make sure we improve this squad so this never happens again. There are some positives we can take, though. Bukayo Saka and Martinelli got 42 goals between them, so they were excellent on either wing. Havertz was good too with 13 goals, and Jesus hit 18 in one of his best years yet in an Arsenal shirt. So there are positives we can take, and we do now go in to the second transfer window, the second season, with 120 million, 350 grand a wage budget, and with that money we can definitely improve this team massively and hopefully take this squad to the next level so that never happens again and we don't have to watch Spurs lift a title. And I really do think we've made some fantastic transfers in Season 2 and some big sales too. But before I show you them, if you could show me your support, it really does help here on YouTube. I know everyone says it, but it helps so much if you could hit that like button and then subscribe as well if you haven't already. We're closing in on 40k subs, a rebuild every week, so if you enjoy this, you'll enjoy what's to come. Feel free to comment down below what rebuild you want to see next. Every one we do is based on your suggestions. And for anyone interested too, I have actually started a second channel. In fact, it was a second channel I'd started a while ago, and now I've kind of rebirthed it and carried it on. It's all about football content, so outside of Football Manager, mainly focused on my club Chelsea, so maybe the wrong video to plug it in an Arsenal rebuild, but either way, if that sounds interesting to anyone, we are closing in on 1k subs now, only a handful needed, so anyone that could help would be amazing. And the last thing, don't worry, nearly done, is I do have a Patreon linked in the description. If you go over there, you can support me as a creator, but in return, you do get access to all of the save files from every rebuild, season 1 through to 5, so you can either take over halfway through and try and do a better job, or continue it after we're done. But I'm out of breath, that's the plugin done. Let's go and see season 2 transfers. Let's start off with the sales. Albert Sambi Lokonga has been sent to AC Milan on a loan, where he'll be joining permanently after that loan is up. Marquinhos has gone out on loan to Genoa. I'm trying to kind of sell him on, but get him some football first, because I don't think he's ever going to be good enough for our first team. But in terms of permanent sales, we've got Nuno Tavares leaving the club. He's gone to Roma for 11.25 million, which I think most Arsenal fans would take, to be honest. Had a decent season at Lazio, but now he's moving on back to Italy, and we can say goodbye to him. But the two big sales were players that I wouldn't necessarily think would command such fees, but I think we've done a great job selling here. Jacob Kivior is the first one. He's Bayern Munich's player now, signed for around 40 million quid from us, only a few years after we signed him for 90 million. He played a lot last season, but not really as a starter, so he wasn't a huge key player. So when you get offered 40 million for someone like that, I feel like you have to take it. And then Takehiro Tomiyasu wasn't exactly a player I was looking to sell, but when Real Madrid came in, he said he'd be distraught if he couldn't go, and I think that might be a theme of this video. If a team like Real Madrid, Bayern, PSG, Barca come in, they're currently a higher reputation than us here at Arsenal, so we're going to struggle to hang on to our star men. But either way, he wanted to go, and he wasn't someone that I was like really desperate to stand in the way of, particularly when we got 50 million quid for him, which I think is a great deal. He was important for us last year, so we did need replacing, but that's a lot of money to earn on top of a transfer budget of around 100 million that we already had. We started off for spending light, bringing in Rooney Bargi as the new backup to Bukayo Saka. I wanted someone that could occupy a similar level to him at full growth, and someone that also plays a similar way, moving onto his left foot, cutting in and creating chances or scoring goals himself, and Bargi is definitely that. Age 18, we have signed him from Copenhagen for only 16.5 million, a great player already with great potential, a Swedish international at such a young age, and a delight to have on that wing to back up Saka. But we didn't stop with the Swedish transfers. I went and bought another player, Victor Gyökeres. What a signing this is going to be, I hope. The Swedish international had a good season at Sporting Sporting Club de Portugal, and we managed to buy him for 40 million. Cannot remember now for the life of me if it was a clause or whether he was transfer listed or wanted to leave, but either way, 40 million was accepted. A great fee for a striker of this level. I'm hoping he'll dominate the Premier League. He's got that kind of build that makes me think he could be the man for us. Fingers crossed it all works out, but it looks like this could be a great sign-in. And then I bought in Antonio Silva, almost as a deputy to Gabriel, and hopefully to start phasing him out of the team. He's a young leader, 20 years of age, one of the best young defenders in world football. We've bought him in from Benfica for 50 million, rising to 63. Had a great year there, and he's got some amazing attributes already at such a young age. Actually comes in as one of our best, up there with Saliba in that centre-back spot, so he can rotate with Gabriel slowly. As Gabriel gets older, in will come Silva, and hopefully it'll be a seamless transition. And speaking of transitions, I've also picked up Sverre House of Nijpan, who is almost the next Odegaard basically. He's a Norwegian attacking midfielder with great creative ability, but he's only 17, so we've signed him for 5 million. Our scouts recommended him, but we've loaned him back out to Rosenborg for the rest of the season. I say loaned him back out, it isn't even that, it's just that he doesn't join us until January, so he's basically our player, but he's going to play for them for a bit and then come to us in the second half of the season. But he's got huge potential, huge ability already, and I think this is going to be a wonderful transfer down the line. But despite those signings, our best 11 doesn't exactly change just yet. It's still Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel and Tierney. Koopmeiners keeps his place in the midfield alongside Rice and Odegaard, and then it's the same attack that we've already had, but I definitely think we've upgraded the team now in terms of options, which will hopefully help us in multiple competitions, maybe go further in the FA Cup, and of course the main aim, the Champions League. After being knocked out in the first knockout round last time, we do not want that to happen again, nor do I want Spurs to win the league again, so I'm happy to see that we are now second place predicted favourites. And just to show you how random it was for Spurs to win, they're only the 4 favourites here, so that was kind of out of nowhere, a real dark horse win for them. But we're now second place predicted, way better odds than before, and Bukayo Saka is considered the best player in the league. So this feels like positive developments for all of us here at the club. I feel like we're heading in the right direction with Arsenal, the right transfers, so fingers crossed we can take this team to another level in season 2, pick up some more trophies, get a bit further in the Champions League, and start making this club a dominant force for world football to see. Okay, so season 1 was definitely a season that looked pretty positive overall, and we can build on, even with some weak moments, but starting to realise how tough it might be to be an Arsenal manager, because season 2 has gone nowhere near as well. Let's move through it. FA Cup, 4th round exit to a fellow London club in West Ham. Carabao Cup, another London team takes us out. Chelsea in the 4th round of that. The Community Shield, we lost 2-0 to Spurs, another London club doing us in. But then there's the Champions League, where we made it out of the league phase and had a knockout match to play against a fellow English side. Once again, it was going to be Spurs trying to take a trophy off of us. We drew 0-0 in the first leg at the Emirates Stadium, and there was only 1 goal in the second leg. Unfortunately though, it fell to Spurs, Son taking a shot past Raya, and just like that, Spurs had knocked us out of the Champions League. Just winning the title against us last season by a couple of points wasn't enough. Now they're knocking us out of Europe, and I feel like it won't be long at this rate before I get the sack if we don't start winning something. But maybe the most disappointing was the league, where we finished nowhere near last season's points tally, over 15 points less than last season. Yes, we are pretty safe in 4th spot from Forest of all people, who made it into 5th. Chelsea and Man U really falling away, but Spurs finishing a point above us, Liverpool finishing a few points above us as well, and then Man City winning the league way ahead of us. Granted, if we picked up a few more points, 1 win and a draw would have had us in 2nd place, but it is what it is. We just aren't good enough at the minute. We've got no top goal scorers in the league, which has definitely affected us massively, and this season was not the one. Just to show you the difference, Saka's gone from 20 odd goals to 13, Martinelli's gone down from 20 odd goals to 10, which has really affected us big time. Now, is there anything we can really learn from this season other than Gyökeres is a pretty decent goal scorer when he plays? Not really. I don't think there's any real progress here that we can learn from. The only good thing I can say is we do have a decent transfer budget again to try and sign some players, but I think I'm at a crossroads here. Do I try and let this team develop a little bit, or do I go crazy in the transfer market, sell a bunch on, bring a bunch in, and try and turn this team from that 2nd place side, that 3rd place side, just losing out, to being a champion? I think we might have to make some changes. And in season 3, I didn't actually go crazy with the transfers, but I feel like the business we've done this summer might set us up for some massive success in the future in terms of the players that we've bought in. But let's start off with the sales, where Sambi Lokonga's sale to AC Milan has been made permanently, 15.25 million after his loan. Good luck to him there, but we'll take that money and reinvest it. Aaron Ramsdale had enough of being our backup goalkeeper, so he's moved on to Man U of all place to only be a backup there. So strange move from him, but we got some decent money, 20 million for a guy that hasn't played football in the Premier League at least for 2 2 seasons now, so we are buzzing to get that kind of fee. We can forget about Ramsdale, and you might think Raya is now our sole number 1, but a bit of a spoiler alert for later, might have signed someone to go ahead of him. The only shock transfer though was Chen Koopmeiners, who he signed in season 1, and whilst he hasn't been amazing, he's been a solid player for us in that midfield, but now he's moved on to Real Madrid. Again, Real Madrid stealing one of our more talented players, 35 million, rising to 45 is not a bad fee. It will be profit hopefully on what we initially paid for him. After 2 seasons here, he's not done bad, but that is a gap in midfield that has been left now, and we had all that money to reinvest and try and find some new players to take our team to another level. Now I did tease a goalkeeper signing, and here it is. Diogo Costa is in as our new number 1. No offense to Raya, he is still a very good goalie, but when Diogo Costa's on the market, probably the best goalkeeper of his age group, age 25, younger than Raya, available for only 43 million, wanting to leave Porto because he's had enough there, you've got to take the chance. So he's came in. Obviously we made £20 million from Ramsdale, so we're only looking at like a £20 million investment really on a new goalkeeper, and just look how good he looks. He is pretty much the best you can get in the net. He's going to be the best goalie in the division, and might even be the best goalkeeper in the world at this stage in FM, so I think we've really done well to get him in. A bit of a shrewd signing though for once, we haven't spent too much on this one. Joey Veerman has joined us, age 26, he's a Netherlands international, kind of our Koopmeiners replacement, not quite, but only 15 million from PSV, means there isn't too much risk on this, and he has been really good in the Eredivisie, so I feel like this is a good deal. He's maybe not as technically gifted as Koopmeiners was, but there's still a lot going for his game, really strong mentally, a big leader once again, so I actually think this will be a really good signing for us at a squad level. He's going to be a great addition to our lineup. And then our final signing, the biggest one of the summer, was Angelo Stiller. The German 24-year-old has joined us from Stuttgart, where he's been amazing in the Bundesliga, particularly last year, 13 assists and 3 goals for what would be not the world's best Stuttgart team. Now we have paid a pretty big fee, £55 million for him, which I still think is worth it because technically he is so good. He's good in the tackle too. He is going to be brilliant in that deep line role, which will hopefully allow Declan Rice to go forward a bit more. I'm very happy with this deal. I think he's going to be a key player for us, but fingers crossed it all works out as I planned. And here is what is our best 11 right now. Diogo Costa is our goalkeeper, with Ben White at right back, Saliba, Gabriel and Tierney still makes up that back line. I can't get rid of Tierney for love nor money. Then we've got Rice, Odegaard, Havertz, Saka, Martinelli and Jesus supposedly as our best 11, but I see it more as maybe Gyökeres up top, maybe Havertz dropping out as well sometimes, maybe Declan Rice coming into that position. I have adjusted the tactics slightly to have a box-to-box midfielder, so we'll see how that goes for us. I don't know if that's going to change anything, but that's what we're looking at. And just to show you as well, for anyone interested, Ethan Nwaneri, as good as he might be, I can't just force him into the team with a team like Arsenal. I'm not a lower down team where I can just give him game time for the sake of it. I'm trying to win here, else I'll lose my job, so I can't really bring in Nwaneri as often as I'd like, but he is developing a little bit, so hopefully he will get to that stage by 20 years of age where he is a player ready to contribute for the first team. But as of right now, it's just not quite working for him. And with those new signings, we have secured ourselves as the second favourite, 6-1 title odds. Odegaard and Saka, outside of Haaland, are supposedly the best players in the league. Costa's the best goalkeeper, so it all looks like we are going in the right direction with Arsenal. But after last season, I can't be sure. We've got to hope that season 3 is just a little bit better, else we might be screwed when it comes to keeping our job. Okay, from what we've seen so far, Season 1 and Season 2, now Season 3, I feel like this is a rebuild that's going to be full of drama. So much has happened so far, and this year, it's no different. We've had some success and some big failures too, but let's start off with something good. And that was the FA Cup, a trophy that Arsenal were no strangers to winning. We faced off against Newcastle in the final. Havertz did give us a 1-0 lead, but it wasn't too long before Newcastle came forward themselves. In the same half, they managed to get a goal just before the close of half-time. Malero playing across the box, and Omega not really knowing what he's doing, but he did score. But in the second half, we stepped it up. Saka was playing on the left-hand side in this game, managed to cut into the box, find Trossard, who powered home, and that was enough to secure us a trophy. So it's not really what we're after so far, the domestic cups, but it's at least something. We've added a Carabao Cup in Season 1, an FA Cup in Season 3, but things weren't so good in the league. Because once again, despite not being predicted near the top, Postecoglou's Spurs have gone on to win the title by 3 points. But I want us to forget about that for a second, because I need to point out Chelsea got relegated, which is just crazy to see. They've qualified for, the Conference League there. I don't know how they've got relegated, 38 points. There's no points deductions or anything, but they have lost 20 games this season, and they are going down. 38 points is a high total to be relegated on. West Brom, terrible this year, by the way, but you'll never see anything like that again. Chelsea have been relegated, but Tottenham have won this one by 3 points, yet again topping us. They seem to be the bane of our existence in this rebuild. But fear not, because for once in the Champions League, we made it past the first knockout round. Now, I'm not saying we had an easy route to the final in this competition, but if you had offered me Frankfurt followed by Roma in the Champions League to make a final, I'd certainly take it, and so did Jurrien Timber, scoring once against the Italians. Not too long afterwards, a free kick was knocked down, it came out to Timber yet again, and he was able to add his second, and that was enough to help us make a final, where once again, it's a tough game, but it's not the hardest it could have been. We were facing off against FC Barcelona. And honestly, I'm not sure there's ever been a more boring Champions League final. Barca had 0 shots, we had 2, but thankfully, one of them was in the 91st minute, Zverhausif Naipan, the youngster, scoring a goal, and that meant we had actually won the Champions League. Despite all of our disappointment in the league so far, we have actually won a European trophy, and not just that, the biggest European trophy there is. It was an easy route to the final, wasn't the hardest, but you can only win the games that are in front of you, so I'll definitely take that, and we have one thing ticked off in this rebuild. The Champions League is won, and now we've got 2 years to try and win the Prem. Just to show you, Naipan is still only 19 here, but looking like a very good player, and will go down in Arsenal folklore now. And there were some great seasons from some of our players. I mean, Jesus having the year of his life with 28 goals, 16 from Martinelli, 18 from Saka, 11 from Odegaard, 14 from Rooney Bargi, who's developing into a top talent now, and almost going to take over Saka in that right wing position if he keeps it up. Everything is looking good here for this Arsenal team, but we have got a big budget to spend in season 4. 100 million quid, 600 grand a wage budget. We're Champions League winners now, so we should be able to attract some top talent and take this team to another level and try and close down that gap on the Premier League and finally win it. Okay, strap yourself in for the season 4 transfer window, because I'll genuinely say this might be our best transfer window in any rebuild that we've ever had. There's been over £500 million worth of transfers, both in and out, so let's get started. Let's roll through the outgoings firstly. Marquinhos, never going to be good enough, has gone to Damak in Saudi Arabia for 11.5 million, a profit on what Arsenal paid, so we're going to take that. So many weird little stories in this rebuild, from Chelsea being relegated to Reiss Nelson becoming a key part of the England national team without us playing him. He went on loan to Sociedad, then went out on loan to Dortmund, and in both places, he's done so well, he's now earned himself not just an England call-up on a regular occasion, but a £41 million move to Manchester City of all places. So, you know what, good luck to you, Reiss Nelson. No idea what's happening here, but this rebuild is on crack. A sale I wasn't necessarily desperate for, but also not necessarily desperate to keep the player, was Jurrien Timber, who's gone to PSG now for a pretty big fee of 49.5 million, rising to 67. So we've got some good money out of him. Bear in mind, we already had a £100 million transfer budget. Keep totaling up all these sales and you'll realise how much we could spend here. He's been a good player for us, but not a regular starter, so I don't think he's necessarily irreplaceable. Vitz Gyökeres also left the club for PSG. He spent a couple years here, never really doing amazing. 20 goals in 2 seasons isn't bad, but is it enough to earn himself a £73 million rising to 82 million deal? I feel like this is good business from us. Turned a profit of double on what we initially paid to Sporting Club de Portugal. So this is a great result for us. He's been good for us, but maybe not the levels that we wanted him to reach. So we'll cash in and take that money. But we are going to need some new forward options, because not just Gyökeres leaving, Gabriel Jesus has as well. Now age 29, he was a brilliant servant for us, particularly last season, had the season of his life and earned himself a £1.3 million a week contract at Al Hilal. I mean, give me that just once and I'll never have to work again. But yeah, he's gone to Saudi Arabia. 92 million quid was the fee after a very good year for us. Good luck to him. He is one of the most expensive transfers of all time, and I'm sure he'll do a great job over there. But don't worry, the incomings I think are even better than the sales we've made. Let's start off with the boring cheap one. There is a new gen in there. Takehiro Takeda is a Japanese 18-year-old forward who we've picked up from Hiroshima for 4.8 million. He's got the potential to develop well, but isn't quite anything right now. But for anyone that does continue to save on Patreon, let me know how he gets on, because I feel like he could be a top talent. And to say this is the least crazy of some of these transfers is something. Reece James is a new Arsenal player. Chelsea got relegated, which means we could raid them for some of their players, and Reece James obviously does not want to be a championship player, so he was transfer listed. Now our scouts rated him as better than anyone at the club, way better than Ben White, so and he came for £50 million, rising to 59. Chelsea, I'm sure, are going to get rinsed in the championship, but you know, even though I'm a Chelsea fan, we've got to exploit him here. I'm Arsenal manager, age 26, Reece James, the Chelsea captain, is a new Arsenal player. Jesus leaving meant we needed a new versatile attacking option, so I went for a different Brazilian. João Pedro has joined us, age 24, from Brighton. After a few good seasons for the Seagulls, we paid 50 million, rising to 53. I think that would be a good deal come the end of his Arsenal career. He's never going to be a world-class starter for us, but I think as a backup option on the wing, up front, even in a 10 if we need him, he'd do a great job. 3 big money signings to go go though. João Hato is our next one, 20 years of age, a centre-back / left-back option, and I think many Arsenal fans will be happy about this because in real life he is being linked, but in FM, we're 3 years on now, he's 20 years of age, a regular Netherlands international, and he's been doing fantastic for Ajax, so 75 million was the fee we paid for him. It is a big fee, but I think we're getting quality here who has the potential to be a world-class superstar. Speaking of world-class superstars, we splashed another ton of cash on Warren Zaire-Emery of PSG. We had the money to spend, guys. I'm not spending money that we did not have. We had a huge budget, 75 million, rising to 100 for the French midfielder, 20 years of age, and a regular for the international team already. What a player he is. Look at those attributes and tell me we have not got a world-class star. Odegaard, Rice and Zaire-Emery as a midfield is probably the best in the world, I'd say, and we are delighted to have him at the club. But of course, Jesus and Gyökeres leaving meant we needed a new starting striker that's going to play every game and score all the goals, and we have picked up the one, the only Benjamin Šeško, who is now 23, a Slovenian legend already, with 30 goals in 53 games for them. He's been doing unbelievable at Leipzig, and now he is in as a new Arsenal player. £93 million was the fee, but I think, you know what, we can take that. That's Jesus money straight into Šeško. We get a younger player, arguably a better player, starting up front for us in our Arsenal team. And just look how good this team now is. Reece James, Costa, Silva, Saliba and Hato, with Rice, Odegaard, Zaire-Emery, Saka, Martinelli and Šeško. I think we have the best team in the world. The game doesn't quite think so at this point because season preview wise, we are still predicted second place. 11-4 title odds is much better than before though. So fingers crossed we'll have a good season 4. We can push on, win more trophies. We're aiming for the league title, so let's get it done. Okay, I did say this rebuild will be full of drama, and we have had some this year. I also said season 4 was our best transfer window ever. I might go as far as saying this might be our best season ever in any rebuild we've done. Let's get the disappointment out of the way. Tottenham beat us in another competition, but don't worry, it's only the Charity Shield. The Super Cup, we managed to win 1-0 beating Monaco, so that's a nice trophy to add to the cabinet. We also did well again in the FA Cup. And we faced off against Liverpool. Not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. They have a very good team, and they took an early lead through Darwin Núñez in the 22nd minute. But at this stage, we have world-class players in every competition, and after being 1-0 down in the first half, a handy team talk at half-time meant we came out firing, Šeško scoring after only 30 seconds of a whistle. Not too long afterwards, it was Reece James on that right-hand side connecting with Zaire-Emery, who was able to pull it back to Reece James. He played a good cross in, deflected mind you, but it found Šeško, who got his second of the game. And with the minutes ticking away, it wasn't too long afterwards that Havertz laid it off to Calafiori, who hasn't been seen much in this rebuild. Granted, he hasn't done too well, but he did score there. And then to top it off, late on, 90 minutes on the clock, we break into the box down the left-hand side. It comes out to Zaire-Emery, out to Rooney Bargi, who scores his goal. That was a 4-1 FA Cup final win, but that wasn't the only competition we did well in, because we dispatched Liverpool 6-0 in a Champions League semi-final. That shows just how good this team is. We're putting all the pain on Liverpool this season. Joe Gomez finally scores, but it's in his own net, and that meant we are now travelling to a Champions League final, but this time it's a little bit harder than Barcelona at this current stage in FM. We were facing off against Kylian Mbappe's Real Madrid. And as many superstars as we might have in our team, Kylian Mbappe is obviously better than all of them, and he scored to make it 1-0. We weren't behind for long though, and not too long after this, Hato got down the left-hand side, managed to play a nice ball through to Šeško, who equalised. Real Madrid superstars continued to link up, Mbappe, Musiala and Bellingham leading to a goal that put them 2-1 ahead. And that lead lasted long until the second half, until Reece James decided to step on it on the right-hand side, played it forward to Rooney Bargi, who darted into the area, opened up on his left, and tucked it past Courtois to equalise. At this stage, extra time was looming, but with 92 minutes played, it was James again down that right-hand side, linking up with Rooney Bargi, into Zaire-Emery, into the area. Šeško gets his hat-trick, and even though that put us in front, we weren't done there. This time, breaking down the right-hand side, Courtois had came up for a corner, and Rooney Bargi was able to tap it into an empty net in the 96th minute, and that meant we had won the Champions League for 2 consecutive seasons, which is far beyond what I would have expected in this rebuild. So we can add 2 Champions Leagues, a Carabao, an FA Cup, another FA Cup on top of that, a Super Cup, but still not the league title. This season though, we were a little bit better than before. And because of that, we did manage to win the league. It's not a pretty points total, 84 points. Spurs have fell off now to 67th place. Thank God for that, because we can finally win the trophy. 2 points more than Man United in second, Liverpool and City all falling away. A really weird Premier League table at this stage of FM now. Burnley getting 8th place for European football is crazy. Chelsea in the Championship, no idea what's going on here, but we're not going to complain right now. We had so many great performers across the course of the year, goals from everywhere. I mean, Bargi, a backup right winger, scoring 22 goals is insane. If you look at the competitions, win, 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 and a win there for us. Runners up in one. Carabao Cup we'll forget, not Norwich City knocking us out there, but it was a fantastic season 4. On top of that, the club's got a £2 billion valuation, amazing facilities all around. We have taken Arsenal to the next level, but there's still one season to go and some more transfers to be made to try and make this team that little bit even better. And this window was another big one. We lost some key players that went out the door, so we had to sign some replacements to keep this team ticking at the same level. But before we talk about that, let's quickly cover Chelsea, just because I feel like I've got to. They're managed by Brendan Rodgers. They made it back into the Premier League now, and if you have a look at their transfer history, they got absolutely rinsed when they went in the Championship. Colwill, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Cucurella, James, Cole Palmer, Raheem Sterling, Neto, amongst many others, all leaving the club. But it's our transfers we're interested in here, and the first outgoing that we should note is Ben White, leaving to Al Weda in Saudi Arabia. Had a year left on his deal, didn't want to extend, so we thought, you know what, you're not important anymore, let's get rid. 11 million came in for Ben White, he is gone, and we get some cash in. The big loss though, the major sale, was William Saliba. He had 1 year left on his deal and showed no interest in renewing because another team wanted him. That other team, Real Madrid, still have that pulling power over us. They signed him for 65 million, rising to 80. Now I know he's worth more than that, but with only a year left on his contract, we had no bargaining power, couldn't do much. He wanted to go, it was either lose him for free or get some cash. So we sold him on, and I think we've replaced him pretty well. Ousmane Diomande was our first signing. The Ivorian international centre-back is a brilliant player who I think we're going to have a good time with. 42.5 million from Sporting Club de Portugal, rising to 45. Another player from the Portuguese leagues, him combined with Silva, hopefully will be a long-standing partnership to come. But if not, Nico Schlotterbeck is there to compete too. We want 3 good centre-backs, all competing at a high level, and Schlotterbeck is certainly one of those. 27-year-old German international, has been great for Dortmund. 53 million was the fee for him, and he's hopefully going to come in and bolster that defence. And then finally, we've got a new backup right back. Hugo Sikwe has joined us as our new Ben White, basically the backup to Reece James. 28 million was the fee from Club Bruges. Looks to have been a really good player over there. Our scouts raved, and he does look like a handy option. So we'll certainly take that, and our team has stepped up once again to another level. Here is what is now considered our best 11, with a star in every single position. A great team that we have set up there, and there's players on the bench that would get in to every club in the world. We are predicted a title now, 13-8 title odds, which is great to see. We've got 2 of the best players in the league at this stage, so it only bodes well for us. But now we've got 1 season to go. We've already won a ton of trophies, but hopefully we can win some more in season 5. Okay, season 5 is now done. If you have enjoyed the video up to this point, please smash that like button for me. It's the last chance I can ask you now. But yeah, season 5, I mean, all I'll say about this one is, let's just keep season 4 at the forefront of our memory, because this wasn't so good. FA Cup, a 4th round exit to Leeds. The Carabao Cup, we ended up losing 2-1 in the 4th round to Aston Villa. We couldn't make it 3 Champions Leagues in a row, City knocking us out in the quarter-final, and then going on to losing the final to Barca. And then there's the league, where Manchester United have won it. We have done pretty well. Chelsea have made it all the way back into a Champions League spot, so God knows what happened to them in that year. But we got 81 points, not enough to win the league on most occasions. Man U winning it on 85 points there. It was a real mix of winners actually in the Prem during this rebuild. Spurs with 2, City with 1, us with 1, and United with the other. But I think we've done a great job. The only issue I will have with this is we had a few iffy seasons where players just decided not to score for some reason. And also Ethan Nwaneri, I just wasn't able to give a chance to develop enough. I would have had to have forced him in the lineup, and it just wouldn't have worked. Now he is a good player still, but not quite where he could have got to. But look, overall the club's in a fantastic place. Everything's gone great. The reputation, the facilities, the trophies won. We've achieved everything we want to. Martin Odegaard is a club legend. Bukayo Saka is an icon, and we are on the favoured personnel list. But there we go. That is the Arsenal rebuild complete. Let me know who you want to see next in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.